Hey everyone, welcome to a new episode of DeFi Weekly. So today we're going to be talking about options. Now, I'm not a pro options trader, but it's something that's taken me a while to wrap my head around. So thought that a video on it would be useful for you all. So here we are. In summary, what are options? Uh, Essentially, they're derivative contracts that let you, I guess, hedge your risk, which means that they provide you optionality um, for what might happen in the future at a premium. And the way you can express this optionality is through call and put. So, a simple way to think about it is that call is equal to long, assuming you're the buyer of the call option. So there's a buyer and a seller of an option. So if you're the buyer of the call option, you're generally long on the asset. And then if you're the seller, sorry, if you're the buyer of a put option, you're short. So put options can also have sellers as well. So just because you have a call option, there's a buyer and seller, and puts can have buyers and sellers as well. So calls mean that you're long because it gives you the right to buy an asset in the future at a particular strike price, and put options give you the right to sell something at a particular price in the future. So let's jump into our first example. So the call option example. So let's say the price of ETH is at $100 right now. So at $100, and we're in January. Now over here we have the call option for one ETH, which in total is $110. But we can actually break this down into two components. So uh, this is the $100 price for ETH, and this is the $10 for the option itself. So uh, in reality, when we buy the call option, we're actually only paying for this component over here, and this is what we call the premium, right? So what it really means is that uh, I think the price of something might be going up, but I'm not exactly sure. So what I could do is I can buy a call option that gives me the price to buy the asset at a lower point in the future, which sounds really cool, and it is. So let's take a really simple example. This is Bob, right? Now he holds the opinion that ETH is going to go up, right? That's like his bias. But for him, like most people, he doesn't know when. He's afraid there might be a bit of a dip in the market because it just did a massive run up. But if there's no dip, or there's no dip to buy, uh, then if ETH goes from $100 to say $1,000 next month, he's gonna feel a lot of regret. So what Bob could do in this case is buy a call option. So let's suppose, like in our example above, he buys a call option for $10 is the price of the option, right? And uh, yeah, so $10 is the price of the option, and $100 is the strike price, right? So essentially, if we kind of think about it, at the end, oh, by the way, every option needs to have a date at which it expires at. So for this one, let's assume that the expiry is equal to the 1st of Feb, and we're currently in at the 1st of Jan. Cool. So now time goes along, right? And the price of ETH is now equal to, let's say, $200. This is great for Bob because essentially, he had to pay $10 for the actual option, right? For the option, and now he can spend another $100 to buy the ETH, which means his cost is $110. But because he can then sell ETH for $200, he's already made a $90 profit, right? He is in the green. Let's make that green to show his alphaness. Okay, so he's $90 in profit. Now let's talk about the sad case scenario, or not the sad case, but the not so great case where ETH goes to, let's say, $50, right? So in this case, he still has to pay the $10 for the option itself, right? Like, he cannot get around paying for that. So he's already down $10, but he now has the option to exercise the right to buy Ethereum for $100. So would he want to do that? No, because the price in the market is for $50, which means he'd be taking a $50 loss off the bat. So in this case, he would essentially do nothing, right? Now, it's bad because he's lost $10. This is his actual loss. But on the flip side, he's hedged the risk of buying ETH at $100 because it ended up to be $50. So in this way, he, where is another color, which is nice, he gets to keep the upside of ETH going up by a lot while minimizing his downside if ETH goes down. And that's really all a call option is, right? You're buying the right you're buying the right to exercise a price in the future. And if that price is higher than what it is, what the actual price is right now, then your hedge worked out. But if the price goes up massively, that $10 you paid is nothing. But there's one other scenario which is probably worth talking about, which is kind of what the seller of this option is relying on. So if ETH, for example, is equal to $100 in the future, now you've paid $10 for the option itself, right? So you're already $10 in loss, and now you can exercise the option to buy ETH at $100, but the price is already $100. So in this case, you basically just paid for the premium. And what kind of makes this tricky is that if, let's say, the option expires on the 1st of Feb, and then on the 2nd of February, the price of ETH skyrockets, you kind of lose out on that because the exercise price point is on the 1st of Feb itself. So that's one thing to be cognizant about when it comes to options, that the timings matters, and the price of the option actually goes down as time goes along because you get more data about the market and as you get closer to expiry. And I guess one thing we should think about is like, okay, so with this thing, if I get to keep the upside while minimizing the downside, that sounds great. So what's in it for the other person? Now, for the seller of this option, what they're essentially relying on is that the price goes down or there's little volatility. I don't know what happened there. Cool. Yeah, they're relying on little volatility, right? Because if they're selling you a $10 option and then the price of ETH remains $100, they just banked $10 because the price of ETH itself is $100, and uh, the underlying is 100, so it evens out. Even if the price of ETH went to $105, they still bank the $5 premium, so it's pretty good. Where they lose out though is when ETH goes up like crazy, right? Because they're essentially selling you $200, ETH at $200 for $100. So this is where they actually lose out. This is when the seller of the call option loses out. And in the scenario where ETH goes to $50, they're also the winners because they're selling you the right to buy ETH at $100 when the actual price is 50. So this is their incentive over here. So yeah. Anyway, you can kind of look up online about what it means to be the seller of a call option, but these are kind of like the rough payoffs for each party. Now, moving on, put options. Put is literally inverse of everything we just talked about. So in this case, we have our character. Let's go with Jim, because why not? So Jim thinks that ETH is going to go down, right? He's a bear, but he doesn't know about some of these crypto bulls, and he doesn't want to get wrecked if the price skyrockets, right? So doesn't want to get wrecked if number go up, right? So what Jim can do is he can essentially buy the option to sell Ethereum. Sorry, one sec. At $100 expiring on Feb, and he decides that he's gonna pay $10 for this option once again, right? So fundamentally, this put option says that, hey, Jim, the price at January is $100, and at Feb, if the price goes down, I will essentially sell you ETH for $100, which means that if the price goes to $50, he can buy the ETH from the put option from the $10 he's paid to exercise it, and then he can essentially sell it back onto the market. He can buy the ETH on the open market for $50 and sell it for $100. So anyway, we'll draw it out so you don't have to stress it. So he pays $10 for the option to sell ETH for $100 on the 1st of Feb. That's literally what he is expressing. So you could almost say that he's short on the asset and expects a big leg down. So number go down in this case. So anyway, let's map out some of these scenarios. Let me move this here. Okay, cool. So we've got $100 on the 1st of Jan, and don't forget that he paid $10 for the option itself. So now let's map out the neutral case scenario, which we'll put in gray, and this is the 1st of Feb. All right, so in the neutral case, the price of ETH stays at $100. And in this case, he basically loses his $10, right? Because he can buy ETH on the market for $100, and he can sell it back to the seller for $100, but that doesn't change anything. He still paid $10 for the option. Now, let's talk about the red case scenario, where the price of ETH ends up going to $200. All right. Now the price of ETH is 200. So if he tries to buy ETH on the market for 200, he can only sell it for 100. So in this case, he's going to essentially do nothing, right? He's not going to exercise his option. But this isn't really the worst case scenario, because this is exactly what he wanted to hedge against, right? That in the case of the price of ETH still going up, he doesn't get impacted that badly as a short seller. Now, in the best case scenario, by the way, in this case, he only need to pay $10 to get this optionality, right? Now, in the best case scenario, the price of ETH ends up going to $50. Now, in this case, he basically buys ETH on the market for 50, and then he can sell it or exercise his option, sell it to the seller of the option by exercising his right, which is to sell it to him for $100. So he basically makes 100 minus 50 minus $10 for the option, $40 clean. And that's it. So in this case, yeah, he did well. Now, why would someone sell a put option is the other thing you might be thinking. And I guess it's kind of straightforward, right? If you think that the price of your favorite coin might go down, but you want to keep accumulating, right? You don't really care if it takes a dip. So you could essentially sell put options at a premium. And if the price goes down, you don't mind buying it at the current prices because you're a long-term believer. But if the price stays fairly neutral, then you also banked money. So by selling a put option, it's kind of like another way to go long. But you probably want to be a believer in the asset to be the person who will buy it for $100 when the actual price is 50. So there's definitely two sides of the story. Cool. Wow, that's fairly in depth. Now, kind of like before we close up, American versus European options. So wait, let me just double check. Yeah. So I'm pretty sure American options gives you the option to exercise your right before expiry. Whereas European options, you can only exercise your option at expiry. Small but pretty decent difference. So thought I'd just include it in there. And then you might be thinking after this, like, this sounds really cool. How can I get involved? So on chain, like I don't really go too much into centralized land, but if you want to do this on chain on Ethereum, you've currently got Hedgic and Open. So Open utilizes an order book based model, and Hedgic uses a pooled AMM style kind of Uniswap where like the options are priced in real time on chain. So they're both fairly interesting. They're still kind of bootstrapping their initial phases, but if you're interested, definitely check out both platforms. Yeah. Cool. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Also, I'm going to be getting more into creating content on a frequent basis. Hopefully, things have slowed down, so excited to kind of get back on track and making more videos for you guys. So catch you guys around. Bye.